Hello, and welcome to the Bards Truth with yours truly, the Green Bard. This is the Direwolves of Winterfell, episode 3.2, A Clash of Kings, the Great She-Wolf and the Shape-Changer Survivor. A Clash of Kings continues our Warg Bond themes and introduces wolf dreams to Nymeria and Arya's story, cementing for us that their separation has not broken their bond, though the danger to Arya remains heightened by their distance. Their personalities continue to mirror, even if they never have the opportunity to be affectionate to each other. Arya doesn't have Nymeria close as her protector, but Nymeria seems to be shadowing Arya's path throughout the volume, and she has formed a new pack. A Clash of Kings, Bran 1. Speaking of pack, our author reminds us of her original pack early in the volume. In Bran 1, Nymeria and the rest of the pack are mentioned. We must wonder how much Nymeria can sense her siblings. Perhaps we'll get an indication of this in The Winds of Winter? Summer's howls were long and sad, full of grief and longing. Shaggy dogs were more savage. Their voices echoed through the yards and halls until the castle rang, and it seemed as though some great pack of dire wolves haunted Winterfell, instead of only two. Two where there once had been 6. Do they miss their brothers and sisters too? Bran wondered. Are they calling to Grey Wind and Ghost? To Nymeria and Lady's Shade? Do they want them to come home and be a pack together? While I can't cover it all here, there is wolf symbolism and imagery all across the A Clash of Kings Arya chapters. The word wolf is used 28 times, the word wolves 30 times. Of these mentions, the following categorizations can be made. Young wolf, mention or description, 6. Nymeria, 4. Eddard, single mention. Arya seeing a pack, once. Mentioning a pack 14 times. A dream twice. A Stark banner once. Hearing howling 7 times. A mention of lady 2 times. A mention of Arya as a wolf 6 times. A Clash of Kings, Arya 2. George R.R. Martin certainly wants us not to forget that Nymeria is running wild in the Riverlands. The tales indicate that her great pack is running rampant, terrorizing some. Arya knows immediately that it is Nymeria, but she's still ashamed of having thrown stones at her, so no reunion seems forthcoming.
I heard the same thing from my cousin, and she's not the sort to lie, an old woman said. She says there's this great pack, hundreds of them, man-killers. The one that leads them is a she-wolf, a bitch from the 7th hell. A she-wolf. Arya sloshed her beer, wondering, was the god's eye near the trident? She wished she had a map. It had been near the trident that she'd left Nymeria. She hadn't wanted to, but Jory said they had no choice, that if the wolf came back with them she'd be killed for biting Joffrey, even though he'd deserved it. They'd had to shout and scream and throw stones, and it wasn't until a few of Arya's stones struck home that the direwolf had finally stopped following them. She probably wouldn't even know me now, Arya thought, or if she did, she'd hate me. The man in the green cloak said, I heard how this hell bitch walked into a village one day, a market day, people everywhere, and she walks in bold as you please and tears a baby from his mother's arms. When the tale reached Lord Mouton, him and his son swore they'd put an end to her. They tracked her to her lair with a pack of wolfhounds, and barely escaped with their skins. Not one of those dogs came back, not one.
It's too bad that Arya doesn't realize at this point that she's wrong about Nymeria's feelings for her. For her part, she doesn't believe the slander about Nymeria stealing a baby from a mother's arms. That tall tale drew her ire, and she was thrown out of the inn by Yoren before she unmasked herself. A Clash of Kings, Arya 3. To contrast the villagers' tales, Arya is not harmed when encountering wolves face to face in the next chapter, probably indicating that Nymeria is exercising some protection over her still. Nymeria herself is not seen, but could she have somehow signaled to the other wolf that Arya and her companions were not to be attacked? I think it possible. The only other explanation would be that Arya herself unwittingly exercised some small amount of telepathic communication with the wolf. The result is the same, though. The bond/warging ability is still there and beginning to strengthen. though Arya still seems to think Nymeria is gone as she discusses with Yoren.
One of them came padding out from under the trees. He stared at her and bared his teeth, and all she could think was how stupid she'd been and how Hot Pie would gloat when they found her half-eaten body the next morning. But the wolf turned and raced back into the darkness, and quick as that the eyes were gone. Trembling, she cleaned herself and laced up and followed a distant scraping sound back to camp and to Yoren. Arya climbed up into the wagon beside him, shaken. "Wolves," she whispered hoarsely. "In the woods." "Aye, they would be." He never looked at her. "They scared me." "Did they?" He spat. "Seems to me your kind was fond of wolves." "Nymeria was a direwolf." Arya hugged herself. "That's different. Anyhow, she's gone. Jory and I threw rocks at her until she ran off, or else the queen would have killed her." It made her sad to think about it. I bet if she'd been in the city, she wouldn't have let them cut off father's head.
A Clash of Kings, Arya 4. Next, in her sleep, Arya is warned by wolves howling of Lorch's men arriving. Could it be Nymeria's pack? Probably, because she dreamt the howl that woke her. This is our first concrete example of mind mingling in their story, although it's probably not a full-blown wolf dream. I think Nymeria was trying to warn Arya of the coming danger, fulfilling her role as protector through the bond.
She must have slept, though she never remembered closing her eyes. She dreamed a wolf was howling, and the sound was so terrible that it woke her at once. Arya sat up on her pallet with her heart thumping. "Hot Pie, wake up!" She scrambled to her feet. "Wath, Gendry, didn't you hear?" She pulled on a boot. All around her, men and boys stirred and crawled from their pallets. "What's wrong?" Hot Pie asked. "Hear what?" Gendry wanted to know. "Arya had a bad dream," someone else said. "No, I heard it," she insisted. "A wolf!" "Arya has wolves in her head," sneered Lamy. "Let them howl," Jaren said. "They're out there. We're in here," Wath agreed. "Never saw no wolf could storm a holdfast," Hot Pie was saying. "I never heard nothing." "It was a wolf!" she shouted at them as she yanked on her second boot. "Something's wrong! Something's coming! Get up!"
Lamy really came up with a doozy there. Arya has wolves in her head indeed. He had no idea how right he was, but George was hiding that clue right there in plain sight. Arya says it herself at the end. Someone's coming. Now, where could she get that idea but directly from Nymeria's mind through the bond? A Clash of Kings, Arya 7. In Harrenhal, when Jaqen approaches her about the 3 deaths owed, he wakes her from a full wolf dream. I do wonder if she was howling in this dream, and this is part of how Jaqen learned her identity. This is the first full wolf dream in her story, but certainly not the last.
Arya was dreaming of wolves running wild through the wood when a strong hand clamped down over her mouth like smooth, warm stone, solid and unyielding. She woke at once, squirming and struggling. "A girl says nothing," a voice whispered close behind her ear. "A girl keeps her lips closed, no one hears, and friends may talk in secret, yes?"
A Clash of Kings, Arya 8. Nymeria doesn't come up in this chapter, but recall that Arya took courage from the stories of Robb and Grey Wind fighting in the Westerlands. She embraces her identity as a warg, thinking this iconic line.
"All of you better run, or my brother will kill you. He's a Stark. He's more wolf than man, and so am I."
Nymeria is certainly leaving a piece of herself in Arya through the bond as the wolf dreams become a reality in their story. A Clash of Kings, Arya 9. When the Boltons take over Harrenhal, she reminds us all of her bond with Nymeria by taking her name. She also prays to the old gods to make her strong like a wolf. Like Dany in the Dothraki Sea, Arya's wolf identity and wolf bond are giving her confidence, making her fierce. It should be noted that this acquired ferocity takes a dark turn at the conclusion of this volume when she kills a guard.
She bit her lip, groping for another name. Lamy had called her Lumpyhead. Sansa used Horseface. And her father's men once dubbed her Arya Underfoot. But she did not think any of those were the sort of name he wanted. "Nymeria," she said. "Only she called me Nan for short."
Later.
Arya went to her knees. She wasn't sure how she should begin. She clasped her hands together. "Help me, you old gods," she prayed silently. "Help me get those men out of the dungeon so we can kill Ser Amory and bring me home to Winterfell. Make me a water dancer and a wolf, and not afraid again, ever."
A Clash of Kings, Arya 10. The next time she prays to the old gods for guidance, she hears what is likely Nymeria's howl and remembers her father's advice about being with your pack. This is a strong indication of their bond. Might she be hearing this howl only in her mind as well? Either way, it gives her the courage to take Gendry and Hot Pie as her own new pack to go seeking for her family at Riverrun.
For a long moment there was no sound but the wind and water and the creak of leaf and limb, and then, far, far off, beyond the God's Wood and the haunted towers and the immense stone walls of Harrenhal, from somewhere out in the world, came the long, lonely howl of a wolf. Goose prickles rose on Arya's skin, and for an instant she felt dizzy. Then, so faintly, it seemed as if she heard her father's voice. When the snows fall and the white winds blow, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives, he said. But there is no pack, she whispered to the weirwood. Bran and Rickon were dead. The Lannisters had Sansa. Jon had gone to the wall. I'm not even me now. I'm Nan.
After listening to that passage again, it seems to me that she was getting her father's advice from the old gods. Very eerie indeed. Could it be that Bloodraven was watching? Or perhaps some green men from the Isle of Faces? A Clash of Kings, Jon 8. That concludes Nymeria's story in A Clash of Kings, save for a reminder from Jon about the pack while he contemplates his own imminent death by wildling. His questions about how the wolves sense each other foreshadow the exploration of pack coming next in A Storm of Swords. Ghost sat on his haunches watching, silent as ever. Will he howl for me when I'm dead? As Bran's wolf howled when he fell, Jon wondered, will Shaggy Dog howl far off in Winterfell and Grey Wind and Nymeria, wherever they might be? I do wonder when and if Arya will sense the rest of the pack through Nymeria as Jon and Bran do through their wolves. Right now, she's completely unaware of the fates of the rest of her siblings. In closing, Arya and Nymeria's bond seems relatively strong through A Clash of Kings, which was somewhat unexpected. Arya's physical proximity allows it to grow, while Nymeria still is trying to fulfill her role as a protector at a distance. Join us next time for episode 3.3, A Storm of Swords, the Shadow Pack Leader and the Lone Wolf. Thanks to all the terrific artists who let me use their work on this YouTube video. If you enjoy this content, you can also consider supporting us on Patreon. Alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive.